I'm so excited that everyone is here. This is a very, very special day for myself and for the panelists that I have to introduce you to and to have a discussion about 2020 and beyond. Um, I'm Heather Beverly, your host. Many of you know me from 20 plus years of entertainment law practice in many areas, including music, film, television, multimedia, and so on. But today I'm actually excited about launching a new endeavor. So today's panel discussion, which is Focus on Faith, Expanding Opportunities in Entertainment Post-2020, is sort of a special launch party for me, for our company, and our team. So this is very exciting for us to have with us the people that I will be introducing you to in a minute. I wanted to, first of all, kind of tell you guys, what is this Soul Reciprocity Network thing anyway? And in a nutshell, the Soul Reciprocity Network is kind of birthed out of a couple of things. It's birthed out of some of the consulting work and really almost marketing work and branding work we've always done within the law office of Heather Beverly with our clients to help them develop their brands and expand their opportunities in the entertainment industry or other things that they're looking to get into. But it also sort of meets another place that's special to me, and that's where the Soul Reciprocity comes from. Soul Reciprocity is a concept, I'll say, I've been going with on a personal journey of just how do you figure out how to have the most connected relationships in your life. There'll be more on that later to come in the very near future, but the way they come together is that I really have had a realization that there's a way that you have to approach your life in order to get the most out of it. You got to know yourself, and whether you're in entertainment as a company or an individual, you got to know who you are, what you're about, what you stand for, and what you need. And in knowing that, you can find the best fit in relationships that you have with others, whether that's other companies, other people who assist you in your career, and others on your team. So that's sort of a big picture version of where this network came about. But this network is going to serve clients in just that way. We're going to help them identify who they are, their brands, expand them, expand opportunities, connect them with people like these amazing people on this panel, and ultimately create an ecosystem in the entertainment industry that will benefit everyone and hopefully make all of our journeys in this thing even more fruitful. I'm going to give you a little sneak preview of a video before we introduce the panel, just to give you a little more context. The Soul Reciprocity Network was created because I noticed that there was something going on in the industry that needed my attention and the attention of others. So I've had the pleasure of being an entertainment attorney for over 20 years, and I represent clients in multiple genres. I've noticed in particular that for my clients in the faith-based industry, that they had lesser opportunities at times than clients that I represent in other industries like hip hop or R&B or pop. And I started thinking about why is that? What's the disconnect? And after talking with a bunch of my colleagues, I realized that there needed to be a translator. There literally is a difference in how corporate America or broader entertainment industries regard and look at those who are in gospel music or Christian music or creating faith-based films, for example. And so in trying to figure out what do we do about it all, I just decided to create a company that works as a translator and a connector. We're now in a place where COVID has made people sit at home and figure out where are they going to work. They can't go to church on Sunday and perform in a venue. They can't finish their recording projects perhaps because the studio closed. There's so mmany effects, not only on music, but in other areas of the entertainment industry that need to be addressed, but that I think that there's solutions for. And so in the Soul Reciprocity Network, we're gonna work to find those solutions. Let's get to the fun part, which is these people, not me. I'm gonna introduce to you guys, yes, some of my colleagues in the business, but most importantly, these are my friends. I have known some of these panelists for over 20 years. Sorry, I won't say which, because I don't want to date anybody along with me. And some I'm just sort of having newer relationships with, but they still feel like forever. And that's the beauty of being able to connect with people in this business who are like-minded and are striving for excellence in everything that we do. I'm going to start with, I'm looking at what the order you guys are in, but I think I'm going to start with you, Phil. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to everyone participating, Phil Thornton. Phil is a dear friend of mine. We go back from before every single award and every single accolade that he has achieved in the last few years, which are all well-deserved in such a short time, because you see how young he is. Such a short time in his career, he has amassed such an amazing array of accomplishments. But let me do him justice. Because he wears so many hats, there's plenty of words that can be used to describe music industry executive and television producer Phil Thornton. But there's one word in particular that also comes to mind: fearless. And that's because Phil has proven that he can confidently and consistently create projects and content that successfully goes against the grain. Thornton started his first company, Bright Star Entertainment, as an artist manager and consultant, where he represented artists like 112 and Lil Mo. In 2007, he partnered with Marcus Spence and Paul Coy Allen to form the successful 10-to-1 Entertainment, a multimedia television production and artist management conglomerate. In October of 2016, 10-to-1, along with Sony Pictures and Think Factory, released a made-for-TV Lifetime Network film, Surviving Compton, Dre, Suge, and Michelle A. It gained an impressive average 2.3 million viewers. Phil served as executive producer on the E1 created hit show, It's a Man's World, starring David and Tamela Mann, who originally aired on BET, but then returned its third season on TV One. In 2018, his team celebrated an NAACP Image Award win for Outstanding Reality Series for the show. Phil is also in the management space, worked with iconic artists like Faith Evans, Kenny Lattimore, and Mac Wilds. In 2016, he was named Senior Vice President and General Manager of RCA Inspiration, a division of Sony Music Entertainment. He works within a wide array of artists that you all know and love, from Kirk Franklin to Travis Green, Marvin Sapp, and Donnie McClurkin.
Donald Lawrence.
And Donald Lawrence. He also stepped up into the podcast world in 2019 with We Sound Crazy, a show alongside Timon Bacon, Claude Kelly, and Chuck Harmony. They focus on R&B and hip hop, and it's currently in its second season. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Phil Thornton.
Thank you for having me. That's always weird when I hear that bio. That's why I just cringe just when I hear those stats. I'm just Phil Thornton. I ain't nobody. Just, it's all about their. I'm just glad to be.
You cannot have me read all that. They say you're just Phil Thornton. You're not just anything. There's no one here today who's just anything.
Yeah, but thank you. Thank you for having me, Heather. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Jason Hughes. Jason Hughes, who is also not only a colleague, a client, a friend, a strategic partner. And I'm so happy to have you today representing such a very unique area of the radio business that a lot of people aren't aware of. As of 2020, Jason Hughes is celebrating 20 years of service at Urban One, the largest minority certified distributor of urban content in the United States. He currently serves as Director of Corporate Sales and Partnerships. Urban One, the parent company, includes the following media divisions. It's got Radio One, which many of you are aware of, Reach Media, which is network radio, TV One on cable television, and I1 Digital, the digital platform. Urban One reaches 82% of Black America. In Jason's role, he works both with Radio One's 50 plus radio stations, the R1 digital network of 100 plus websites and social media platforms, and Reach Media's leading nationally syndicated shows, including the Ricky Smiley Show, the D.L. Hughley Show, The Morning Hustle, Russ Parr Morning Show, Erica Campbell Morning Show, Willie Moore Jr. Show, and more, which collectively reach over 30 million consumers each week. Jason is responsible for creating solution-driven, integrated campaigns for Fortune 500 advertisers. He also works closely with all major record labels on their promotions and marketing campaigns for their artists. And I call him friend. I'm just gonna own all y'all, so get ready for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Hughes.
Thank you, Heather, for having me. Much appreciated. I feel like Phil, I'm just a poor country boy trying to make it, like all of us. So I humbly accept all of those accolades, but I'm just Jason Hughes. So appreciate you, Heather.
The humble, the humble. No, I'm grateful to have you here. I'm gonna pivot and do a little girl time with my girl, Eve Pierre. So Eve is a firecracker. I love her so much, personally, professionally. Eve is an agent at ICM Talent Partners. If you all don't know what ICM is or does, listen closely because you'll want to. ICM agent Eve C. Pierre has built a career broadening the visibility of artists like Rhapsody, Migos, and Lil Yachty. Born and raised in Brooklyn, the daughter of Haitian immigrants, carried her love for music onto college and eventually around the globe. While attending University of Maryland, she became a college rep for Def Jam Records and found her future. Her 2-decade career began at Rockefeller Records, home to ascending rap star named Jay-Z. Y'all might know who that is. Learning from hip hop's hottest entertainment independent label shaped her for her next position in Def Jam sales department. After 2 years, she transitioned to the marketing division, where she excelled for 3 more years. Her expertise and guidance solidified her as an integral piece to management teams for artists, producers, and writers like Neo, The Dream, and Electric Red. In 2012, Pierre became an assistant at ICM. And for those of you who understand the talent agency world, you start at the entry point. I'm not going to say the bottom, and we're here, but at the entry point, and you have to earn your way up. She intentionally crafted a roster that includes acts like Wyclef Jean, Quincy, Justine Skye, along with emerging artists like Baby Rose, Renee, Kedron Bryant, who I'm honored to represent, and Richie, as Billboard has consistently sung her praises. She's been Billboard's 40 Under 40. She's been in 2018 a Billboard noticed as a Billboard Women in Music. In 2019, she was recognized both in the Women in Music, well, I was going to call it an episode, but it's the Women in Music edition and the Hip Hop and R&B Power Players for Billboard, and 2020 Hip Hop R&B Power Player and Billboard's Women in Music. Ladies and gentlemen, Eve Pierre.
Thank you so much for having me. Just super appreciative to sort of be here. My love of music sort of knows no bounds for me. So to sort of be a part of this is I'm able to sort of learn as well. And I always am like a student, as well as provide information on my expertise, because I truly do believe that, yes, not everything is a cookie cutter situation, but that skill set transcends boundaries of gender, you know, or genre or any of those things. So I'm just super appreciative. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such an honor. It's an honor and pleasure. I'm going to pivot over Willie Moore Jr. Sir, we see the Will Flow Global Media wall. I can't even start with y'all about this one, because this gentleman right here, who you all know from wearing many hats, is not just a radio host and an author and a creator and a philanthropist and all of those things in the world that he is to you, but to me, he is also a friend and a brother. And I am absolutely honored beyond to be the godmother of his beautiful baby girl, Paisley. And so this relationship, which spans a couple decades, started from a special place and continues in a very special place that's near and dear to my heart. But let me give you the formal, because what I tend to do when I talk about this one is start boo-hooing, and we don't have time for that today. So as a nationally syndicated radio host, speaker, best-selling author, Willie Moore Jr. has proven that innate charisma, abundant creativity, and passion for empowerment can translate in the faith-based community and the general market. Whether you know him as a Grammy-recognized R&B artist, Pretty Willie, or the stellar-nominated inspirational artist, Willie Moore Jr., Willie is hands down a fan favorite amongst today's generation. As the host of the top-rated Willie Moore Jr. show, Willie reaches over 1.7 million people weekly. The groundbreaking inspirational show has featured top entertainers and celebrities, including Barack and Michelle Obama. I remember that day, it was insane. Tyler Perry, Bishop T.D. Jakes, Hillary Clinton, and many more. Willie can also be seen on BET's Joyful Noise and TBN's Juice TV's The Crew, which can currently air over 60 million households worldwide. Outside of entertainment, Willie Moore Jr. is an advocate for adoption and foster care. As the president of the Will Flow Foundation, named after his forever family, Willie and Flora Moore, Willie brings awareness to the adoption and foster care systems through high school programs, scholarships for foster children, faith-based multimedia films and television shows, and his signature event, the Day of the A adoption. Each year, thousands of African-American families sign up to be foster parents and or adoptive parents through the efforts of Willie Moore Jr. and his partners. There's so much more, but I just want to present to you all my dear friend and family, Willie Moore Jr.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm so thankful to be here. I don't know what to do. And she's so pretty. Shout out to Heather, Beverly. Guys, listen, to be on such an amazing panel with so many amazing people, like I'm just honored to get back to eating, like my brother Donald Lawrence would say, getting back to eating. This is what it feels like. Of course, Heather and I, we go back years and years and years, and I'm excited about the information that you guys are about to receive. I promise to be extremely transparent. 2020 has been a very unique year for everybody, but there's been some amazing blessings that have come through 2020, and I'm ready to really get into this conversation. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. All right, Wayne Overstreet, how are you doing today, sir? I am also so excited to have one of my newer besties, Wayne Overstreet, joining us today. In a very short time, I feel like I have become the sister from another mister to Wayne and his partner, Len, and have really been excited and rejuvenated. And it's a really big part of what even inspired this event today. Because Wayne is on the cutting edge of content creation and distribution. And like the other people on this panel and who I like to align myself with, is doing and creating content with soul and love and intention and legacy in mind. Wayne Overstreet is a 20-year entertainment industry professional. As general manager of Wolf Brothers Post, Wayne cultivated relationships with networks such as TBS, TNT, the Cartoon Network, Discovery, TLC, Up TV, Lifetime, BET, TV One, and more. Mr. Overstreet recognized changes taking place in the industry and began to focus his company's attention from commercial and promotional material to long format film and TV shows, such as the 2013 BET Soul Train Awards, which was BET's highest rated award show to date. And after 15 years of successes with Wolf Brothers, Wayne established Overstreet Productions and Post. He was immediately awarded multiple post-production projects for BET, TV One, and Flavor Unit, to name a few. He also began to executive produce independent films and series. In 2019, Wayne partnered with film and television veteran producer Len Gibson to form GoMedia. Since its inception, they have executive produced several films, including Hell on the Border, My Brother's Keeper, and Followed, which was the #1 film in the United States for 2 weeks in June of 2020 during a pandemic. In an ever-evolving industry, Wayne's willingness to go above and beyond the relationships he's cultivated in production, post, and distribution have made him one to work with, one I am working with, and one I'm sure all of you are going to want to work with as well. Wayne Overstreet, say hello.
Hello, Heather. Hello, panel and guests. I'm thankful and grateful to be here amongst such an esteemed group of panelists that you put together. I'm humbled that you chose me to be amongst these great individuals that you've assembled. I'm looking forward to the conversation. 2020 has been a unique year, as Willie so eloquently stated, and we were forced to adjust and shift gears and just kind of reinvent ourselves on the fly for a lot of us. And, you know, it's something that as entrepreneurs, you're used to doing. So it was definitely a year of challenges, but they say doing challenges is when the greatest and best ideas are created. And this was definitely a year of innovation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'm going to round out these introductions with one of the key reasons that the Soul Reciprocity Network has even been birthed. Donald Lawrence, like others, I don't want to sound repetitive, but I promise you all, it's so sincere about how much I love and regard everyone on this panel. Donald Lawrence is special to me in so many ways, and not only because of his incredible contribution to music, to television, to film, to the arts, but also to me as a friend, a mentor, someone I look up to, someone I've gone to for advice, and someone who has inspired me very much to push beyond some of my own boundaries. That leads us to the birth of this company. And I know you all know who he is, but I am compelled to share in case there's a few of the illustrious accolades that you might have missed. So Donald Lawrence, the man who wears many musical colors, which I think is the most beautiful description and appropriate description of probably anyone I know. Those 7 words eloquently capture the multifaceted essence of Donald Lawrence. Songwriter, producer, composer, music and choir director, recording artist. The guiding force behind such #1 hits is Encourage Yourself, Back to Eden, and The Blessing of Abraham. Donald has also been known for producing the #1 songs like Blessed and Highly Favored by the Clark Sisters and Lift Him Up, Sold Out, and Every Praise by Bishop Hezekiah Walker, who I'm also proud to represent all of. Donald Lawrence is one of the most influential figures in modern music and in gospel music. He has an impressive career in the gospel industry that spanned more than 25 years. And I'm going to tell y'all, I know I'm saying all these years and you can't believe it about any of us. So we're going to have a whole separate panel just on what everybody's secret is to still looking so amazing after all these years of work and energy in the industry. But over the course of that time, Lawrence resurrected and led the Tri-City Singers, who were noted as one of the best choirs in the world, and he has found much individual success as a solo artist with numerous #1 Billboard hits and albums. Donald has also worked on numerous films and television programs providing his musical services. On top of nearly 30 Stellar Awards and 3 Dove Award nominations, he's been nominated for 16 Grammys over the course of his career, including a Grammy win in 2018. He's also served as the face of Verizon's How Sweet the Sound national tour, the music director and headlining act for McDonald's Inspirational Gospel Tour, and also the music supervisor for BB Winans' hit theatrical production, Born for This. In 2019, Donald and the Tri-City Singers released their 25-year anniversary project titled Goshen. The highly anticipated album was met with much praise and acclaim. It earned Grammy nomination for Best Gospel Album, and the album's hit single, Deliver Me, This Is My Exodus, which went #1 on the Billboard charts, was also recently named Billboard's most played gospel song of 2019. The success of the album has allowed Donald to develop other creative projects around the music of Goshen. One of those being an inspirational libretto featuring Chicago's famed dance company, Deeply Rooted. There's a lot to come for Mr. Lawrence still. He'll be expanding the success of the Goshen album, continuing to produce original, unique music and creative content. And I'm certain he is guaranteed to be winning many, many more awards and other accolades. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, my friend, my inspiration, Donald Lawrence. You're on mute, Donald.
Here, I'm here. Hi, Heather. You hear me?
I hear you.
Good. Listen, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud of you for this launch. It's your baby. I'm just sitting here smiling and teasing and watching it all come to fruition. So thank you for having me. And I'm glad to be here with all these amazing people on the panel. And I hope that all those who are logged in learn something great here. You got some great people here, and I'm just excited to be amongst this elite panel. It's great. Thank you. And like them, I cringe when you go through this resume. I'm just like, but thank you so much. And I'm just ready to share what I know and flow with everyone else. And let me give a disclaimer to your audience. If y'all hear a dog barking, I have a really jealous puppy that hates for me to be on the phone and hates for me to be on Zoom. So if I kind of duck a little bit, that's what's happening. I want to be professional and make sure you can hear and learn everything from these great people. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Look here, I had to put socks on my bulldog because otherwise you would hear clicking like grandma walking through the house in her house shoes. So
yeah, I'm
on
pins and needles.
We're in.
I'm on pins and needles. One odd noise, and she's gonna just try to be like the protective.
You will have
dog.
all the grace in the world, sir. All the grace.
All right.
So look, to all of our participants, I took the time to do those intros the way they were deserved to be done, but also because who these people are and the broad diaspora of areas of the industry they each represent, as well as all of the areas that many of them have ventured into in the course of their own careers, is what this company is all about. It's what today's discussion is all about. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into it because I want to get the discussion going and I want you guys to be able to hear from them soon. So here we go. You might remember that the topic today is focus on faith, and we're examining opportunities that have resulted from this crazy year. I'm so sick of hearing it's been a challenging year. It's a quite interesting year. We know it. This year was crazy. But what I want to start with is this. Let's go back. Let's go back to 2019. In 2019, especially towards the end, if you guys were like me, you were ramping up. 2020 was going to be the year of vision. The New Year's parties were supposed to be the most ridiculous ever. We were ushering in a new decade. There was so much hope and promise and excitement around what we were going to be doing, especially in our careers and in this industry. I would love to know what it was that you guys were planning in 2020, for 2020, back at the end of 19. And then how did the crazy make you have to pivot? And we can start, if there's someone that wants to start, or I can start to delegate who can talk about these things.
I'll jump in, Heather.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
So what I was going to say is, in 2019, preparing for 2020, we were working on all of our kind of tentpole events. One of them being the Tom Joyner Cruise, which we had lined up a stellar lineup. We had Alicia Keys, Jill Scott, and Usher all lined up to be on this ship that was going to set sail at the end of March of 2020. We were also working on the 25-year anniversary of Birthday Bash in Atlanta, which is, Radio One's biggest event that we hold every year at, what is it now? It used to be Phillips Arena. Didn't it change names to something else in Atlanta? But the biggest arena in Atlanta, right there by the CNN Center, sell it out 20,000 every year. We've had the Migos, we've had Jay-Z, we've had Mary J. Blige, Drake, Wale, and everybody in between perform on that stage. And so that's what we were preparing for in 2020. And then along comes COVID. So we had to pivot in a big way because cruising was shut down. Large scale events were shut down. And so we had to pump on the brakes in a major way on all of the big things that we were planning on. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm gonna let the other panelists jump in and share what they were working on, but we had to make some huge shifts in midstream.
Willie, what about you? Radio to radio parallels.
The truth is this, going into 2019, we had, I would probably say, all I know is the numbers, but we were gone every single weekend to go speak and empower people. Like literally on my books, we had every 3 weekends out the month, we were booked going out to, you know, whether it's adoption, corporate work, or even church work. So we knew exactly what we were going to do. Of course, essentially, I was about to launch a documentary for my book, You Belong Here. It did really well in December. It was kind of rushed. We wanted to kind of work it out in December. That's my month where I really get into it. So I'm saying, hey, we're going to do this documentary, and we're going to get these numbers up. We're going to get people excited about adoption, foster care, continue to build this brand, keep the cameras rolling. And then COVID hits. And I told my team, I said, hey guys, in 500 words or less, how about this? What if we write a plan what if COVID stays for more than 5 years? What do we do? 500 words or less, because I don't want a dissertation. I got a lot of smart people on there, right? Like I got a lot of smart people. I'm talking about they so smart, dot every I, cross every T. I said, I'm gonna send a voice note, right? But essentially they wrote down where we would go. And I liked a lot of it. And I said, what should be our focus? And we realized that the children should be our focus. And we decided that through foster care and adoption, a lot of these children weren't going to be able to get any attention during this time because all the attention and focus was off of them. And so I said, let's keep the cameras rolling. We kept doing content. We started master classes to teach people how to communicate effectively. And the next thing we knew, like we had so many students, probably about 140 students, and it made our books and our numbers do really, really well. I kept those cameras rolling. And then in the beginning of COVID-19, the ED of my foundation called and said, we found your biological family. And so in the midst of a pandemic, I end up meeting everybody in my biological family. Of course, we continue to keep the cameras rolling. And so now on my birthday, we get an opportunity to show the world an amazing film of love, redemption, overcoming rejection. And really, it's a docu-short. We created that thing, and we just know that the doors of, it's like the floodgates of opportunity have now come out of nowhere. Like churches are giving money, and people from overseas are saying, hey, we need to get you over here to share your story. So I'm watching the hand of the Lord in the midst of it all. But I will say this, our trajectory changed, like our mind changed. I couldn't believe that I was running around the country, not even knowing some of the creeks and crevices of this beautiful home that I had. I never had an opportunity to do that. I never took the time to really cultivate the relationships that I had, but I was able to do that. And so I'm always challenged now when people only focus on the negative in it, because we realize the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And I can honestly say in the adoption space, in the media space, in the content creation space, we've improved tremendously, and we're looking forward to 2021.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
I guess I'll jump in.
Please.
I guess on my end, being that I'm an agent in our concerts department at ICM. So from festivals to tours to everything in between, everything sort of just, sort of went away. I literally had an artist on tour that maybe last week, that second week of March, as things were like really sort of shutting down. Literally, we had maybe 4 or 5 days left on the tour. And that tour, they completely canceled, like, the last 3 shows. So literally having several tours booked, as well as, festival season was about to start. That starts usually like end of April, May, into the summer, both, domestically as well as internationally. And to literally sort of just see all of that just disappear, as everything started to really sort of shut down. So for me, that everything was sort of obliterated at that point. But then also understanding that people still want content and all those things. And by May, when we realized that we weren't going back to work within a month or all those other things, sort of figuring out what that pivot was going to be. And how do we still serve our clients, as well as, serve consumers. So trying to, figuring out that landscape. So, it went from sort of despair and that mindset to now sort of jumping in and going, okay, now we pivot. You've had like 1 or 2 days to sort of be like, oh my God, this is insane and everything's sort of obliterated, to then, okay, how do we pivot? What's next? What are we going to do? Because we can't just, the industry isn't completely over, right? People still have to feed their families as it relates to our clients and things like that. So, how do we do that? So that to me was probably the sort of, I'm down in the dumps for 2 days and then let's get back on it and figure it out. So yeah, for me, that's what it was.
So true. So what about our folks who are having to deal with recordings, Phil and Donald, making music, working on projects in the studio and with others? What were you planning and how did you have to pivot?
Oh, wow. Well, let me jump in then. For me, this year, I was to, first of all, do an international music conference. Edwin Hawkins, may he rest in peace. He asked me to take over his music and art seminar, and I took off for 2 years to just figure out what to do with it. And I had decided that I would relaunch it in Copenhagen. And we were supposed to relaunch it the end of April. It was a 3-day conference that was on sale. And, you know, by the end of March, the borders for Copenhagen were shutting down. So we had to just pretty much cancel that or put it on pause. The other thing is I hadn't really worked on theater in about 15 or 17 years, but I created the album Goshen as a kind of a precursor for something I wanted to put on stage, which would be Goshen Dance Theater. And I'd been working on working in conjunction with Deeply Rooted Dance Theater here in Chicago. So the Nederlander organization, Broadway in Chicago, had decided they wanted to partner with us, and they were launching the world premiere of Goshen on stage at Broadway Playhouse in Chicago. And we're supposed to go into tech and go into previews on May 23rd. Of course, that totally canceled. Well, I'm not gonna say cancel. All of it just paused. We're gonna probably get back to it in 2022, hopefully. But yeah, those things were big things of mine that I've been planning for a long time. And if you know anything about music and theater, it's a lot of work. So we had workshopped it, we had gotten it ready, and I had to pause it. And then figuring out how to record. I actually had to figure out how to record 2 singles on Torrin Wells for Phil and for RCA, inspirational. In the middle of this, it was just trying to figure out how to do it safely and how to mic it safely, because where I usually would have 2 to 3 singers around a mic, I couldn't do that. We had to kind of put 1 singer mic, spread them apart. And for my singers, we sing and we feel. That kind of disconnected how we feel things in the studio. So just a lot of rethinking, but we got it done. And so, you know, one thing I will say, maybe this year was a year for vision, but maybe it was a year to write down and focus on the vision as opposed to executing it. So like Willie, I had to look at it a different way. Maybe this was a year to make you focus on the vision as opposed to executing the vision, because you write the vision and make it plain. And sometimes we write it really fast, but we don't make it plain. We don't have a time to focus on it. So I just look at 2020 as a time to focus and make the vision plain, that it may not tarry and we can run with it. And that's kind of how I look at this.
Yeah. Phil, you're on mute.
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to, I agree with Donald totally. I mean, it was about, to me, strategizing this year, but on the record label side, it was a bit challenging those first few months, trying to just figure out our rhythm and working virtually. We've been at Sony Music, we've been at home since March. So just working remotely and just trying to figure out how do we record, how do we create music videos, knowing that touring isn't an option, which is something we rely on heavily. Even the promotional tours, like artists can't go to New York and LA and meet with the various, you know, digital service providers or meet with their agents it's just been a challenging environment, but through it all, we made it through, and we still had some great wins this year that I'm extremely proud of. We're still shooting video content. I heard that Donald may be shooting something tomorrow. You know, but safely because we got COVID measures, and it's you know, but again, but it's very much, we've had to reimagine how we approach the business. And to me, I'm grateful for it, because even once it's time to safely return to the office, what does that look like? What does that do? We need to be in the office 5 days a week. Do we, you know, just kind of, how does that, because we've proven that we can still be productive. And so just to me, it's really about reimagining what that will look like going forward. And then outside of Sony on the TV front, I set a lot of goals, you know, pre-COVID, and I had a lot of projects that I wanted to sell. And, you know, I got one across the finish line, which I'm grateful for, and more to come, it looks like, at the very top of the year. But I set some aggressive goals at the top of the year, and one of which, Heather, you know about this one, is at the finish line. But I'm excited about just something, has come to fruition throughout this year, so that I set a goal to sell 4, I sold 1. So, hey.
For sure. Now, I know that Willie Moore Jr. has a hard stop because we are at the end of the industry timelines right now, and he's got an interview that has to happen. I have a question for you, sir, before you go, because you are key to this panel and why I wanted you here, because of just how vast your career has been and how many different boundaries you have crossed, from R&B and hip hop and writing and love and marriage and God and family and all of it. Talk about how you see the fit of all of these different things you've done and how you have put them all together to make sense in your career and to be very successful at them.
You know what? Number one, I would probably say, Heather, thank God for you. Making sure that I don't sign bogus deals and make sure that I do everything decently and in order. So I do want to thank that. And I think it's really a montage of every person represented, at least with the exception of Miss Pierre. Like, I'm a fan of your work, and and you're a Haitian girl, so I got nothing but love for you. So prayerfully you and I'll get an opportunity to work one day. But, I take a little bit from everybody. I seen Phil, I seen him come up out there in that DMV area and, kind of work through that Howard thing and go from being kind of a street rep to seeing him escalate and be who he is in the music industry and the television business. And then being able to literally become, call me on the phone and say, bro, I'm going to, this is where I'm going next. And to see that happen and, to get an opportunity to see Jason Hughes like work an entire boat where he could really be relaxing and just kind of hanging out, but he's still working his clients with Ford and still working these clients and making sure that they're accommodated in excellence. And then seeing a guy like Donald Lawrence, who's already accomplished so much, but still have the fire to want to go out there and be exactly who he's called to be in the earth. And then, last but not least, being able to get on the phone with my dear brother Wayne and just to hear his heart for ownership when it comes to creating content. I think it's a montage of the people that you get an opportunity to be around. And so for me, I'm always saying that if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And so for me, it was always easy for me to adapt to where I was because I didn't meander in the maze of mediocrity at the bottom. I always challenged myself to work with the people that I wanted to work with. A lot of people have a less than mentality, but when it was in R&B and hip hop, when I was Pretty Willie, of course, Nelly sold 30 million records. I sold 30, like total. That was it, right? I knew that I still had to work hard. And so I'm still great friends with Avery Littman over at Republic. Like, I don't just keep on hanging around people who are just trying. I hang out with people who are actually doing. And so I believe that that's what allows me to continue to be successful in any endeavor that I allow myself to be a part of. And then I walk around with a pen and paper like a madman. I'm a strong believer that if there's ideas coming in and out every single day, and you just got to catch them on paper, but there's an appointed time for these things to come through. So as I transitioned into radio, I had never had a job in my life. I never had a job. When the HR department called me and they said, I think I called you, Phil, like, how many days I'm supposed to ask for off? Because all I seen in the Bible was 40 days, 40 nights. I just gonna tell them 40, but always not playing like I'm the smartest person in the room. I'm always going to ask questions. I don't mind looking crazy. A lot of people want to pretend like they know everything and they end up knowing nothing. I'm going to reach out to my lifelines to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. I remember reaching out to Tom Joyner and I'm like, how do I win in this business? And he told me one thing. He said, keep being creative. Just keep being creative. Whatever you want to create, just create. He said, watch this. Hey, y'all, I got an idea. You seen everybody's face go, oh, crap, he got an idea. And people just start kind of running away and walking away. And some people came. He said, when I have an idea, everybody's going to have to move because I think big. And so that's always my thing. I'm always going to think big. I'm always going to think of the new strategy. And then the cool thing, to those of you who are watching right now, just before I go, I got to get on the interview with Mr. Warnock, and we're going to have a really good conversation as these elections are very, very unique. And it's been some tumultuous activity going on with creative stuff, right? But I got to get on with him. But to the people who are watching right now, I really want you to catch this. Right now, nobody has real answers. Everything is data. Right? Mm-hmm. Nobody has real answers of what really works. Like, you try one thing 1 month, Facebook ads, something hit, and then you try with another artist. It just doesn't work. But this is the most amazing time for a person to create the new system.
Yeah.
People are looking for what you want. There are people with monies who don't have the idea. So if you have the idea, write the vision, make it plain. I just believe in this season that this is a time where people are going to fund your idea, because the traditional systems of how things have been done, they no longer work anymore. There are a few things that still work, integrity, right? Character, like that still works. But when it comes to systems, all of these things are kind of weird. Nobody knows. But I believe in this season, God is going to do something amazing with people who are willing to be creative, walking in integrity, having that character, and God's going to give everybody a new opportunity to create a new system that's going to succeed. And so I'm thankful to be here on this panel. Heather, I'm so proud of you. They always give me these really great opportunities, and I'm just like, you know what? I love you, Warnock, but I know Georgia's depending on me to get the best information out of Warnock. But I love you, and nothing is more important than you. Thank you for always being there for me. Even when I didn't have no money, you ain't never sent me an invoice. So I thank you so much. And I love you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you guys
so much. We'll just have to continue our conversation in a one-on-one, because this will be a series that the Soul Reciprocity Network is going to do, and it will include some one-on-ones, likely with each and every one of you. So good luck on your interview. Good luck on the launch and the premiere of your documentary short this weekend. I know
so it's just a showing. It's just a showing. Can we just say showing? It's just a showing. So Phil, I still got to get with you.
Send me the link. Bro.
I want to be in the room with you, man. Me and Donald Lawrence, we think about music. So Donald, you know how creative we are. Like, I want you to hear it with the sound, because I'm a musician as well. So I scored this thing to a T. I was like, Phil, I got to sit you in this theater room so you can feel it.
I do want to tell you that Donald sends me rubs through the phone and email. He will send me rubs. So just to put my ears on.
I do. I don't send it to everybody like that, but I do.
Well, I'm going to send you a trailer.
Here's an experience. That's good. That'll get him going. But here's an experience. So he wants you to experience it the way he experiences. So I totally get that.
Indeed. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Soul Reciprocity is going to win, and I'm glad to be a part of the winning team. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I love it. All right, Wayne, I didn't forget you, sir, because we were vision casting at the end of 2019 and into 2020. What were you planning, and what did you have to pivot with?
Going into 2020 from 2019, we had 2 or 3 films slated for production and theatrical release. And of course, the theaters closed down, productions were closed down. We had investments that we had made in 2019 in projects that were due to pay out in 2020. But because theaters were shut down, they were unable to go into the theaters, and that was delayed. So there were some delays, but I guess the pivot would be going into distribution and taking our film Followed, which we executive produced, to theaters, to the drive-in. So we got creative. We saw an opportunity with drive-in theaters. We had 2 weeks where we were the #1 film in the nation. And that was, something we will always hang our hat on and be proud of. And then at some point, the major studios realized the foresight we had to go in the drive-in, and so they came in with tentpole films, Jurassic Park and just the classic Jaws and things of that nature. So that kind of ended our run, but we're on the digital TVOD downstream now and doing well. But we went into distribution. We became more of a distribution company as the need for content in this pandemic, is people are home, they've seen everything on all the streaming platforms. So it was an opportunity for some content that was in the can and on the shelf that many creative filmmakers had that they couldn't place. And we were able to help them place it on various platforms.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
I was looking at some statistics in preparation for today, and they said that there are over 2 million people who are employed by the entertainment industry. The box office this year has been at 2.3 billion approximately to date, whereas last year it was at $10 billion. There's an article that was out in Rolling Stone magazine, and the headline was "COVID could be catastrophic for live music." They interviewed Ed Sheeran and some others, and they were talking about how absolutely awful the effects have been to the touring industry, as many of us know, and the live music industry. And as Donald pointed out, for a theatrical production, anything in person. But despite the fact that it was crazy in a negative way for so many parts of the industry, in a lot of parts, it was thriving. And I think you've each sort of hit on that, that there's been a shift in how we have to think about what we do and how we do. I know on the business side, for myself and my colleagues, I don't know that I've ever been busier. I feel like the first 10 minutes of every call with every lawyer I talk to starts out with a deep sigh and a dialogue about how overwhelmed are you. And so there's this sort of schizophrenic feeling that in some ways we're so blessed to be in an industry like entertainment, and we're so blessed to be able to do what we do and to find pivots like you guys have talked about, while so many people are struggling, and this year's various things have had such a devastating effect on a lot of families and friends and people in this country and abroad. But I do want to talk about the intersection of things and opportunities. Today wasn't to focus on all of what we've dealt with all year that's been bad. Today is about really celebrating that in the times of darkness, there are opportunities. And in times where industries, particularly in the faith-based industries and entertainment, which can sometimes be overlooked or by mainstream, there's sort of an intersection. I call it a tipping point, if you will, happening, where I see so many more opportunities coming, and all of you and I have been in the war room strategizing on how do we expand opportunities for artists and companies and creators in our genres so that they can still survive. And I wanted you guys to just talk a little bit about how do you see content being integrated? How do you see actual opportunities coming for an intersection between genres worldwide? Who wants to start with that one?
I can give at least a case study, Heather,
I would
on
love it.
something that we did that we had never done before because of some of the pivots. And now a lot of the barriers for doing events and things have gone away, right? You used to need to rent a venue. You used to need to get security and lights and stage and all this other stuff. But now you can create an event right in your living room, just like we're all doing now, and invite hundreds of thousands of people to participate. And so an example that we did in the faith-based space was we created an event called A Night of Inspiration that we did across all of our radio stations and websites. It featured performances by Lecrae, Bishop Hezekiah Walker, one of your clients, Heather, Charles Jenkins, as well as Jacqueline Carr. And we put this thing together fast and furious. We actually sold virtual tickets where people could actually buy just a regular general admission ticket, but there were also premium tickets that people could buy for a chance to have a virtual meet and greet and be in the same virtual room like we all are today with Lecrae or Charles Jenkins or whatever. And that was a premium experience that people could buy. We had never done that before. It was also hosted by our very own Willie Moore Jr., Erica Campbell, and Darlene McCoy. So we were integrating our on-air talent as well as some performances, and we monetized that in two different ways, from ticket sales as well as sponsors. BET was launching Sunday Best around the same time, and we were able to get BET to sponsor it. And so it was a win on both sides, from a ticket sales standpoint, a sponsor standpoint. And we ended up generating over 20 million impressions for that promotion and that campaign. And as we look ahead to 2021, I see us as a company doing more in that space. and the ability to do more kind of on the fly, because it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to do it. If I called Donna Lawrence and Charles Jenkins and Willie Moore Jr., we could do a show this weekend, and Heather would do all the legal paperwork, and we would be good to go. And then also to add to that, like, I actually had to call Phil when we put Night of Inspiration together, because we ended up adding Melvin Crispell to the show because he had won Sunday's Best the previous season, and we ended up kind of connecting all the dots. And so I just wanted to share that case study, and I do think we'll do a lot more of that in 2021.
I love it. I love it. Phil?
I'm excited about some of the new, the additional verticals that we're exploring on the label side. So yes, we are traditionally known for just audio, like your music, but finding those new verticals, whether it's podcasts, we're creating a podcast with one of our artists. We're creating additional content based around some of the songs in our catalog. So finding new ways to create content, considering the circumstances, has been really, really helpful. And just, there's still brand opportunities. The McDonald's relationship, Donald's been really great and spearheading things with the McDonald's Inspiration Celebration Gospel Tour. We've had a number of artists participate there, but just there's still a lot of opportunity out here to really just intersect content and faith. And just like I said, just trying some things and seeing what works. And everything may not work, and that's okay as well, but just trying some new things. But I'm really excited about some of the new projects we have in the works.
Yeah. So Eve, being in the concert and tour division at ICM, I mean, that's got to have really taken a toll on your primary source of work. Yet at the same time, it opens the doors for so many opportunities in this new virtual performance space. And, you and I have had the pleasure of getting to know each other more and more, because there's this little kid named Keedron Bryant who you signed to the agency, who came from a world of wanting to be a gospel singer. His mom wrote a song that became the anthem of the Black Lives Matter movement. And you end up we signed a kid to Warner Records who has a gospel background. Parents are pastors. And then he gets involved as the civil rights icon at 12. How do you, we need you to tour, but you can't. You're gospel, but you're not, but you are again. How do you, as an agent, put all that together and make it make sense for the agency and for the client?
I think for me, I think Donald might have said this earlier, but this year was, maybe this year was a year of preparation as opposed to execution, right? So for me, I've always, as I look at clients that I've signed or I've been interested in, it's always been intentional in the sense of, was I a fan regardless of what genre they lean towards? So with Keedron, we were in a space of civic responsibility after George Floyd. And for me, that was important. So that touched on something personal for me. So that's where the inclination of, no, it's not what my everyday is, but the world is shifting, lines are being blurred. And for me, I felt a civic responsibility to use my skill set to provide an outlet for him, because I knew that there's a community of people that need that, right? I think it's servicing the community, servicing his demo. So even though I might be more so leaning R&B and hip hop, but my skill set is about service, is about providing exposure. So that is aside from genre. It's just now about finding ways to both execute that in mainstream, but also find ways to, and this is me learning, find ways to execute that in his lane as well. So, for me, it was just about, okay, if I know how to reach a consumer and sell tickets for a hip hop artist, and that's tapping into their genre and their consumer and thinking like them, well, that doesn't change when you change the genre of music. So to me, I didn't see that boundary or that hardship. It was just learning about the new demo that I'm trying to, infiltrate or expose this client to. So it's really just about that. It was just really about that for me. And now planning purposefully so that when it was time for execution, all my ducks were in a row. I think we're sort of used to moving off the cuff and moving along with music and exposure, but now we could literally plan properly. So if it's about the live stream of it all, how do I still service his demo, but knowing that there's still a sensibility mainstream wise, how do I still then bring that into that space? So it's really just about sort of figuring out where those things sort of align and play with. And then, I think sometimes people are scared of the work. Like, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be automatically you're selling 1,000 tickets, automatically you're selling 10,000 tickets. In the touring space, we still build artists. I'm still a firm believer of you build someone from selling 250 tickets to selling 500 tickets to selling 1,000 tickets. Selling 50 tickets isn't easy. So it's still steps. It's still a process. You still have to apply the same intentionality to it. So that's where, I sort of look at it as how do we sort of build the collateral in all those spaces to then turn that into something that we can monetize. So it's just not skipping steps. It's still sort of exposing people to different things and seeing what catches, seeing what connects, and then sort of moving on to the next. So that was the approach in my head when I thought about it. It's just now just putting that into sort of execution.
Well, I guess
Yes,
I'll jump in,
Wayne,
Heather,
please.
unless you were going in a different direction.
No, I actually was going to direct more to you because especially in the film and television space that you occupy so well, I'm sure you're starting to see an intersection. And what I know for sure is that you're on the front lines of creating an intersection and a union between all genres and platforms.
Yes, well, I think for us, 2020 was a year of building. There's a spirit of connectivity and collaboration that hasn't always been there. I think the pandemic has allowed access to people who, quite frankly, you couldn't always access because they were on tour or they were on set. So it's been much easier to build and collaborate with other individuals, to plan out projects and come together on projects. And what we've seen is it's allowed us to really expand our reach and our horizons and our relationships. I see opportunities for members of the gospel community and faith-based community expanding, as a lot of stuff is advertisement driven, it's sales and marketing driven, and faith-based artists are generally an advertiser's dream. It's just basically because of their lifestyle and the no-nonsense approach that they generally take in their careers, lend them to opportunities to endorse products, to represent products in a way that they haven't in the past. And I think it's the pandemic and that need has forced advertisers and industry professionals to see the value that they bring. I think often their value was overlooked or discounted or just not really tapped into nearly as much as it is now. When like Jason had mentioned, when you want to do an inspirational moment, when you want to do a Black Lives Matter moment on your network, on your platform, you need artists that are relatable to the cause. You need artists that speak to generations, and there's a need for content that's friendly for the entire family. And that does speak to a certain individual and a certain genre of people. I mean, everyone, of course, but I think it's opened new doors and given new recognition to gospel artists and to filmmakers in the faith-based genre and actors that have mainly been in family-friendly content-based production. So I think that's one of the main opportunities and shifts that I've noticed is it's really been a great time for people of faith. And while the pandemic has been horrible for so many, and it's been horrible in general, it's been really a blessing to so many of us. And it's really allowed a lot of us to expand our reach and our universe.
I love that. Now, Donald, I had said at the beginning of this that in many respects, you are the inspiration for this new endeavor, and really the inspiration for helping me sort of see where my role is in the industry, in helping be a connector and a translator between various areas and sectors of entertainment and corporate America and film and television and the like. And I'm going to take you back to a conversation you and I had about 5 or 6 years ago, where we were actually doing a deal for you, an international fashion deal. And I was complaining about, I was so excited for you and the deal that we were doing. And I was like, this is the type of thing I wish more of my clients had opportunities to do in the faith-based genres. I can do sponsorship and endorsement deals all day in other sectors of entertainment. And I can see partnerships beyond just community reach or community access type of sponsorships and endorsements in other areas. And you asked me a question then, and you said, well, what do you think the problem is? And I thought about it and said, well, I think the industry doesn't have enough translators. And that meaning people who understand from the outside world looking in what they need to comprehend what they're looking at and what the opportunities are for growth and expansion and integration. And then also from the inside of, say, gospel music, looking out, translating between, there are some opportunities. They're not just money makers. It's not just about that. It might expand your reach. It might expand your growth. It might expand your access, your ministry. And we talked about that, and we have several times before. But what I really love about your career is that you've done it all along. You've always found a way to globalize your art, to penetrate both sides of the fence, if you will, and really orchestrate and create content that transcends any boundaries. And so though now I'm excited to see things like, mainstream rappers doing gospel albums and seeing film and television shows integrating more of the music and content and being able to do amazing, like major commercial licensing for Twinkie Clark and the Clark Sisters music and things like that. You've done it all along. And so I want you to share with the people, because you've known, this is no secret to you. How have you done that?
Well, I mean, it's exhausting. So, figuring out how to take my music into other areas, I try to, first of all, my music is kind of storytelling. So I kind of pay attention to the lyric to figure out how can I take this lyric and connect it with something else. One thing I will say is, it's exhausting because you have to be the talent. Then you got to go sit at the table and do the deal. I've always been that person who's left and right brain, if that's a thing. Some people don't believe it is, but I'm one of those people who like to sit down and do the paperwork, but at the same time go and create it. So for me, over the years, I've just figured out how to do that, how to meet people like you, how to meet agents and talk to them, how to present and be a translator for myself. However, one thing that's missing in this particular genre is not a lot of translators. This is probably the only genre that where you can't really go and say, here's an agency that has this particular genre in its department. And I think that is the disconnect for, you know, the great talent that's here being connected to brands and being connected to theater and being connected to TV and film and even touring. Our touring model is not the same as other touring models because most people don't really have a touring agent. They have someone that people call, and luckily we're blessed enough that once we get a big song, people do call our offices. But if you had a focused touring agent that really built out tours, I think that you would create so many bigger successes on this particular genre, especially based on the level of the talent, because the talent is really second to none. It's some of the greatest talent on the planet. I just don't think that we've been afforded some of the opportunities. But for me, I've had to hit the pavement running. I've always been that way since I came in this business. I did not ever wait for someone to do it for me. I've always been the one to go in, pitch myself, and get the deal. And I think that when you're creating it and you're doing that, you do get there. It's exhausting, but I think if you had an agent, if you had the system set up, you could get a lot further. So for me, it's been about going to a McDonald's and saying, hey, I can come and be an artist, but why don't you let me figure out how to put this show together for you? And I go in thinking that once I put it together for you, I'm going to put it together so good, you're going to at least come back to me 4 or 5 more times. You're not going to just, I'm just going to be that on my gig. So whether it was that, whether it was Verizon's How Sweet the Sound, they came into the test with me to figure out if I could host the show. The first year I hosted the show by myself, but it was so much script that they was like, we need to give you a break. But I was so determined not to fail. I'd memorized the whole script. In the very first show in St. Louis, the teleprompters went down and I kept going and they couldn't believe it. But I had memorized like probably 20 pages of copy. And it's just about doing that. Going and sitting at the table with the fields and stuff. When I first started off, I never hung out with the artists. I always went and hung out with the executives, and the executives then were the Taras and the Jazzies. I always sat down and had lunch with them. I didn't go hang out with my artist friends. I wanted to figure out what you were doing so that when I wanted to do something, I could go speak to people who could say yes and not necessarily go through the trickle. So I think that that's been what has helped me thus far. But I think that having like my sister here that's an agent, when we get more of those people who you can go to and they can just look at your content, figure out where to connect it, I think that's going to really take this genre into a greater place. And it's been missing all along. I think we need to work on our touring model. We need to work on our brand connect, understanding what products we can. I think the one place where there's so many people is church. So many people go to church, and if we're in front of all those people all the time, they buy stuff. Church people buy so much stuff. I don't understand why we're not connected with so many products, because we could really sell it because we're in front of them all the time. And that's pretty much it. But I wrap that just saying that I've done it, but it's exhausting. I wouldn't recommend for someone to do it. I would recommend for someone to figure out how to connect with the right agency. And to do that, I think that you could get a lot further. And that's pretty much what I'm gonna say with that.
I like mic drop, all of it. That is why we're here. That's why you're here, Donald. That's exactly the point of this conversation and each of you. I mean, to have someone and to have connected with someone like Eve and a talent agency like ICM, it is exactly the point. We've been having conversations with them about how to integrate. But again, like you said, Donald, it's the translation. So I've shown them some of our clients and how they can integrate into different departments. Talking with Wayne and the projects that he and Len have going with GoMedia for next year, and some of the things that they are thinking is exactly why we've aligned with them, and because they are like-minded and understand. Phil has always, like you, Donald, been all 360 degree. I mean, Phil and I used to have more marketing conversations 10 years ago than any music related or anything else. Both having very strong backgrounds in marketing. It was, how does content creation have more opportunities, and particularly in faith-based communities? And Jason being on the side of partnerships, brand opportunities, And I've always said, why in the heck? We might get the radio ads, or we might get the sponsorship for the Stellars, or we'll get the, a great tour moment for the summer, or choir competition moment. But where does that intersection really start to translate to the bottom line? And at the end of the day, you guys are all a perfect example of why the Soul Reciprocity Network exists, and why all sorts of music, entertainment, film, television, all platforms can coexist and build each other up if you have the consciousness and the intention. And so I want to go into our last point, because you guys have literally nailed everything I wanted to make sure that we address today. Again, this is about positivity. This is about excitement for the future, because I think that this change is going to stay, even though we have vaccines that are now being distributed. Eventually, someone like me might get one, but it's not going to change. I think that the future is here. We look at the success of Versus. We look at the success of D Nice's, his little club, D Nice.
Club Quarantine. Club Quarantine.
Yeah.
Club Quarantine. Thank you, Phil. I mean, that was everything. We look at even the integration now of merchandise stores and things into virtual performances. And I'm sorry, though I hate a virtual conference like every day, I will say, not having to be on trains, planes, and automobiles all the time, and for a lot of our clients and you guys not having to travel for a show where you can sit and actually be webcasted or streamed worldwide all at once, has some pretty interesting opportunities. And the ingenuity of what people are coming up with are going to create new models. And we know it. We knew it was coming anyway, with or without COVID. And I'm most excited for the gospel industry, the faith-based content creation industry, because I think there's so much to come. So with that, I want you guys just to share, and you've preluded, but I know you guys have some pretty exciting things coming up. How are we turning these lemons to lemonade for 21 and beyond? What are either the exciting things you're working on, or if we've got to wait for your launches, then that you see trending in the industry? Wayne?
Hey, Heather, this is Jason,
hey,
because I gotta
Jason.
run. I gotta run, but one thing, because I'm mobile now, one thing I will say is one of the lemons in the lemonade is the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Working for a, African-American focused company, we've been, telling advertisers for 4 decades, you need to make marketing to the African-American consumer a priority. You guys need to put your money where your mouth is. Right now, African-Americans make up 13% of the US population, but only get about 1% of the advertising dollars. And one thing that we're seeing coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement is that more brands are starting to take our audience serious. And how does that connect to gospel? Well, gospel is 90% Black. And so when you look at the opportunity, there's going to be a lot more opportunities in 2021. And that's how we're going to turn lemons into lemonade, getting more brands to see that our audience matters. And with that, I got to run.
Love it. No, we love you. We appreciate you. We're close to wrapping anyway, so I'm so grateful for your contributions, and good luck in everything in 21. I'll be there to witness it.
Thank you, Heather.
Wayne, how are we turning lemons to lemonade?
Oh, well, I think the lemonades for us this year in 21 is becoming a distribution company, along with being a production company, utilizing our relationships in distribution and with fellow filmmakers to help other filmmakers get their products distributed, utilize some of the content that they've had and just couldn't quite find a home for. Now that there is a shortage of content, suddenly things are getting second looks, and we're able to present those opportunities for others. So that really brings joy to be able to to help your fellow filmmakers and television show creators to get content out that was really worthy, but just people, sometimes, you know, everybody's kind of got tunnel vision and they're afraid to take chances on something that might be a little different. And it's a copycat industry. So everybody wants something just like what's successful on another network or another platform. And then the other thing for us is in 21, along with our partnership with Tiki Live, we'll be in our partnership with Global View Entertainment, we'll be launching 3 networks on Tiki Live. Good Life TV, which is faith, family, travel, leisure, just overall good life, just happy endings and good life as people who like faith-based content need general market lifestyle shows and overall entertainment. Then we have Influencer TV, which is just that. It's a network by and about influencers, an opportunity for influencers to own their content. And, you know, we are all about ownership and being able to control our own product, our brands, and our own destinies, essentially. And then we have Global View Entertainment Television, which is our movie channel. So we're really just trying to give options, give alternatives, give people an opportunity to have ownership in their product, and just kind of continue to push the envelope, if you would.
I love it. I hope every single one of you who are tuned in heard those things. Creating networks, creating platforms, radio, television, film, faith-based, family-based, like it's amazing. And with advertising integrated, which is the key to television and content monetization. So I love it. I love it. Eve, what about you?
For me, well, this space to me is probably one of, if I like had a top 5, one of my top 5 things to sort of explore and expand on in 2021. I know that you and I have spoke about this in great length. You know, because we're so used to sort of running with what we know and resting on that, the opportunity to figure out new things in terms of like that in-depth sort of study and look into things, that sort of, it's hard to do both, right? It's hard to sort of work at 100%, you know, in one thing while learning, you know, another sort of something that deserves your full attention and things of that nature. So that's what sort of this time gave me, was to sort of slow down a bit and pivot my attention to other things and figure out other genres of music. So the opportunity here to sort of be the agent that treats this genre of music and this space as mainstream, right? I think that that's going to take some work. That's going to take some time to really sit back and study. So the opportunity to be able to do that and do that with the right people, because that's also part of it. It's like figuring out who you need to network with. I mean, Phil's name came up in a conversation, and I know of him and we've met before, but we don't speak every day. But in this space, you know, in those conversations internally, your name came up as, hey, we need to reach out to Phil to sort of have specific conversations about how to figure out the agency side of this world. So being even afforded the opportunity to have those creative conversations, I wouldn't have necessarily had that had this year gone how it was supposed to go, right? Just because as an agent, in terms of in concerts, the festival business to touring business, that also takes time and work. So to be able to figure out and develop another genre of music, you know, to me is really, really important. So, you know, that's probably going to be one of the biggest things that I try to figure out for 2021, and giving this space the eyes and attention that it deserves. Because at the end of the day, no, it's not what's charting on mainstream music, but it doesn't make it any less important. It's its own sort of mainstream that just other people need to be exposed to, right? Like we need to meet. I'm a firm believer of you need to meet people where they are and expose them. So it's about really getting into this world and, you know, bringing what people consider mainstream into the space and giving it that exposure. This can, you know, this genre of music doesn't need to live in its own silo. Right. It can play at an Irving Plaza. It can play at a Barclays. It can play on other platforms. It's just figuring out how to bring that consumer into the space. So to be able to sort of have the time to figure that out with like-minded individuals is probably what is exciting me about 2021. In addition to still helping, you know, still doing the work that I do for the clients that I existingly have and still signing new clients, but that sort of planting the flag and really giving it, you know, the breath that it needs is really important to me.
And I'm so excited about some of the things we've been talking about collaborating on coming to fruition, because I think we'll be able to show folks how well it can actually work when you focus on it. Gentlemen, Phil, Donald, which of you wants to go first?
I'll go first. Let Donald close. He's gonna, you know, give us the nice closing remarks. But I just echo what Eve touched on. I'm really excited about collaborating with like-minded individuals, and like you all referenced them as translators, and just finding more people that are like-minded, that want to see that intersection of faith and content and how to expand some of the what we see as the boundaries and restrictions now, be it touring, be it content, be it podcasts. I mean, it's so much opportunities out here, even as you touched on a brand partnership level. But unfortunately, a lot of the artists don't always have the necessary infrastructure and team to support that vision. So even if they have the vision, as Donald said, it can be exhausting. So my goal going into 21 is to continue to just line up. And that's why I think what Soul Reciprocity Network represents is so necessary for where we are as a culture and as a people and as an industry right now. It's right on time. So I'm just excited about more collaboration and figuring out how we can just better create more synergy and opportunity and money together. So because we all, again, I love the ministry aspect, but we do work for-profit entities. So I don't want to miss that mark. So we are in it to make some money.
And
Amen.
have families to feed and legacies to build.
Yes. So I love God, and I also appreciate the money that I'm able to generate for my family and provide. So, but I think there's a lot of opportunities. So just excited about the possibilities. And Eve, I will hit you because I love to hear more about how we can build on. My name coming up in Rome, I'm excited. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Donald.
Well, for me, of course, I have a couple of things that I'm working on with Phil, actually. You know, it's so interesting just to listen to this conversation. I think it's great, and the people that you brought, great. Phil, when you meet with Eve, you bring my name up. So what I would say is next year, one of the things that I've been working on is getting back to the theater, because that takes the story of my music into a different realm, a lot of different people. It was pitched to the Broadway community. The Broadway community is not the gospel community, but I understood how to put it on stage for another community. And that was mixing it with dance. Because the one thing that I think, I'll say this to artists out there, especially independent artists and new artists coming up, we do have a ministry, but you also have an art form. And there are some people who come to hear what you do as the art form. They're not coming for a religious experience, and you got to be able to respect that. And in me speaking about that, there's a project that I'm working with a rapper by the name of Sir the Baptist, who is originally from Chicago. We did a thing called Church in the Wild. We did it at a legendary rock club in Chicago called Reggie's. It's a grunged out rock club where legendary rock concerts have happened. We packed it out and we let everybody come and do their thing. And we just sang gospel music, talked about social issues, talked about love and life, because that's inspiration. And so we have a project that we're working on together. It's going to be a collab album called Church in the Wild. It's hip hop, it's gospel, it's love and life and social. And we were planning on touring this as a project this last year internationally. And of course, we had to stop everything. So we're picking that back up. Myself and Sir, we're going in the studio at the top of the year to start building this album out, film it as well, make it some visual content. But at the same time, the real idea for me was to put it on stage as a theatrical production, where we just put the stories on stage and talk to everybody, share the gospel, share life, share inspirational ways about living, but not make it so that people feel intimidated to come, because there are people who will never come into a church. They're intimidated. They don't want to do that. And there's some people who might want to come and hear your gospel music with a drink in their hand. And I don't want to be the one to say, you can't come in here like that. That's not disrespectful to me, because I think that I'm going to say something to you that's going to change your life for the better. And I understand how the brain works. So I think that for me next year, it's going to be about picking up these projects like the theater project, like Church in a While, like doing a Goshen Deluxe album where we add more songs to it as we continue to wait to get things back on stage, blending gospel music with dance, blending it with theater, blending it with film, blending it with products, finding the people that can do that, the translators. And that's what we're missing. And that's the people that you have here. To hear my brother talk about all the different departments of his film and TV network, it's inspiring to me, because there's so many unique ideas out there that may not get to Netflix yet, but we got a person that understands how to do it, how to make it look right, how to get it to the right people. And I think that's going to be the key to gospel music really getting the chance to shine. And I think this is the moment for it to really shine. And not just on a few people. That's the whole thing. I think it's just been on a few people, but it's a lot of great artists out there. And I'm the one who's like, you guys, when people call me for something, if it's something I can't do, I recommend so many people, because I'm like, there's so many talented people here. So I'm just closing out saying gospel artists, new, standard, icons, don't limit who will see and hear your music. Some will get it in church, but there are some people who might just want to have a drink and listen to your song. Don't make them feel bad about that. And I know that's an edgy approach, but that's the time that we live in right now. And I think that when we talk about we're supposed to go into the highways and byways, I believe that. And there's just one phrase of a song that me and Sir worked on. It's called we talk about how God is a lawyer in the courtroom. He's a doctor in the sick room. He's bigger than church and Sunday morning. Now I want to say that God is bigger than this Sunday morning. He's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the boardroom, in the stadium, in the sports arena. He's everywhere. Don't just try to trap him into the four walls of the church, because he's bigger than Sunday morning. And that's my ending.
I wish I had pyro.
See why he had to go last?
No, my producers of this show, Adrian and Shelby, they're like, I wish they could cue my pyro. The intersection of all of this, the reciprocal nature of how we can collaborate and work together inside, outside the industry for the greater good of the industry and for the greater good of others and the world is what this is about. And even in how we partnered for this event, we wanted to be an example of crossing bridges, showing how a synergistic community can work together and benefit one another. And so you guys might have noticed when we were promoting the event that we have two charitable partners that we brought on. One is the James Brown Family Children Foundation. And they have been established to help those in need by four core principles: music education, creativity through fine arts, healthy living, and charitable giving. And the James Brown Academy of Music pupils, just 4 words, JAMP, they call it, JAMP, is a year-round musical village in his honor. They intend to motivate, educate, and inspire children through the universal language of music. And I'm honored to have been able to work with and partner, and will continue to, with the James Brown Family Children Foundation, established by James Brown's family in his honor and to further his legacy and what he wanted. Also, the Gospel Music Association. The GMAs are iconic in our industry. Their purpose is to expose, promote, and celebrate gospel music through gospel through music. And how do they do it? They propel the Christian and gospel music industry through education, advocacy, research, and preservation. And this event is an extension of the Soul Reciprocity Network's edutainment portion of what we do. We're going to do more panels like this. We're going to do some one-on-ones. We're going to make sure we connect our community so that they can meet iconic people like you guys today and learn and network. There's network at the end, both as a noun, a verb, adverb. It's there for multiple reasons. And we'll have a YouTube channel that will rebroadcast these events so that people can access them and get some pearls, because you guys have dropped so many today. I can't thank you enough, each and every one of you, Donald, Wayne, Eve, Jason, Willie, Phil. I said it at the beginning, I'm gonna say it again. You are my friends, you are my colleagues, you are my partners. Donald and Willie are, as far as I'm concerned, founding clients of the Soul Reciprocity Network. We've worked together so long and been through this process of development and expansion for so many years. And to have partners like James Brown Family Foundation and GMA, please, anyone who did not get an opportunity to donate, there are partners for a reason. We partnered with them because we wanted to show that virtual content can be monetizable, and it wasn't for my benefit, but I wanted it to be for the benefit of others. And both of those foundations, I know the GMAs has a COVID fund for artists in the gospel and Christian music industries. And the James Brown Foundation is doing a ton of work, especially during the holidays, to feed families and to get children gifts. So please, 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 I know that the panel discussion was free, but we are hoping that if you didn't get a chance to donate, you will, so that we can assist in the mission of these organizations. And then there's one more piece I just want to share with you in closing. Cue video. I am so excited to announce the birth of my latest endeavor, the Soul Reciprocity Network. There's so many effects, not only on music, but in other areas of the entertainment industry that need to be addressed, but that I think that there's solutions for. And so in the Soul Reciprocity Network, we're gonna work to find those solutions. We're gonna work to create excellence in everything we do. We're gonna partner with people who can assist in the process, whether it's brand managers or web designers or business affairs professionals. We're gonna get it together and we're gonna create clients who are focused on what their ultimate goals are, how to get there, and do the work. And then those introductions to other people and those connections that we make in and outside the genre are gonna be that much more meaningful, and they're gonna be that much more impactful. I look forward to 2021 and beyond. I look forward to what we're going to do as a company and with our clients. I look forward to the education that we'll be able to provide. And ultimately, because I'm an optimist, I can't help but see such a bright future for faith-based industry, content creators, professionals, fans, and beyond. Thank you again to all of my guests, and thank you so much to my hardworking team, Adrian and Shelby, my producers, who are rock stars from the mainstream international touring world. Derek Wilson for introducing me to these powerful women. To my team at Soul Reciprocity Network, Tanda and Cornell and Jeremy, and to Margaret and Marissa and Josh, and to Naja and James. I'm so grateful for you guys holding me down through this process. Let's end the year with a bang, you guys. I look so forward to working with all of you and more on so many exciting things that I know are going to make a difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you.